our sacred airwaves.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John, they're the ones to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
The BJ Show, today's date, July 14th. John Combest, how can it be that we're almost halfway through July? God, where's the time gone?
Well, even with 2 Hazelwood School District graduates, I think we can acknowledge that that's the way that math works.
Really? Is that the way it works?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, I always have to check my knuckles, to figure out how many days are in a month. And I know that July, by my knuckle test, July has 31 days. So we're almost halfway through.
The old knuckle test. You don't use your toes either? You don't use your metatarsals?
I don't use my phalanges nor my metatarsals.
Aren't you good? That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. I spell it because you need to be able to spell johncombest.com properly. Otherwise, you'll end up at a porn site somewhere. But J-O-H-N-C-O...
Brad, come on now.
J-O-H-N-C-O-M-B-E-S-T.com. And why is that important? Because that's a big part of the show, at least in A block, as we call it, because John puts together this incredible website every single day of his life for the past 23 years, never misses one single day. Once again, John, how many days have you missed in 23 years?
0.0.
So what we do is we start the show off with John's top 3. He calls his entire list, sometimes 30, 40, 50 different things on his list in that day, and we come up with the top 3. We bring this guy up from the grave. What's your name again, sir?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And we start off with...
In third place...
We're going to start close to home today on number 3, Brad, and we're going to talk about a gentleman who listens to the show, who has commented on the show, who's commented on this very story because it involves him. A headline from the Washington Missourian. DNR releases findings on abandoned St. Clair landfill. Now, it's been a couple months. Do you remember us talking about this, Brad?
Yes, I remember this very well.
So this was a landfill that had gone back decades, and a gentleman named Jim Roberts, purchased land in St. Clair and quickly noticed, I guess what you could call an orange ooze on his property that was coming from a landfill. And as we left it last, Brad, and in fact, as Mr. Roberts commented to us, DNR was still investigating this. Mr. Roberts couldn't seem to get any straight answer from anyone about the status of the investigation. Now, he had pointed out that folks from Senator Josh Hawley's office had been out and had taken a look at it, but Mr. Roberts wasn't getting any real answers from DNR. However, DNR released last week a 255-page document, including 8 months worth of photos and test results from water samples. I should point out as well from the Missourian that this story was put together by Christopher Parker. Brad, I'll just get right to the chase here. The DNR report goes into explicit detail on the status of the pollution, the status of how the land had gone from originally being owned by Franklin County to going into private hands from the Zyken family. Mr. Zyken fled the country. Other folks bought the property and then abandoned the property when it appeared as though there was no real path to cleanup. So the cut to the chase part of it, Brad, is that between Franklin County and Missouri DNR and the feds, no one has stepped up and said, this is our responsibility to clean it up, and here is our action plan. I'll leave you with the kicker of the story here from Mr. Parker. Quote, it's a bleak picture for Roberts and his neighbors, given that no plans are underway to address any of the pollution. Elected officials from the U.S. Congress to local governments have pledged support, but not provided any path forward. So it looks like if you want to consider a 255-page report to be progress, then there was a little progress made on this, at least in detailing the pollution. But Brad, no one's going to step forward and actually take care of this.
John, you're wrong. You don't know the rest of the story. This came out yesterday afternoon. You don't.
Oh, does this involve a rich couple that buys wineries?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be your make-believe solution.
Next month, matter of fact, the rule is the Washington Town and Country Fair always starts on the first Wednesday of August. So what they're doing is, and I can't believe you haven't found out about this yet.
No, I haven't. What was happening, Brad?
Part of your ticket, if you buy, especially if you buy the season pass, which means you can go there all 5 days, they're having a special shuttle bus for you to go view the orange ooze. So you'll go into the Washington Town and Country Fairgrounds, and then there'll be a special little area there where you go back out a gate, you'll get in a bus, and the bus will take you to the orange ooze area of Franklin County. And most importantly, what they make you do is you drive through the orange ooze, you have to say, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then you
because
go back.
you can't spell ooze without ooh is what you're saying.
Right.
And then when you get there, they have a big screen set up, and they play Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze.
Right.
They actually bring in Shredder and Krang. If you're looking for April O'Neil, you won't find her because she's still on the bus with me.
Okay.
But go ahead, Brad.
But seriously, folks, what was the orange ooze? Did the 255-page report tell what the junk was?
Yeah, it's an orange. So, Brad, I'm not sure if you pronounce it chelate. Chelate? It was a bright orange discoloration in a spring-fed creek. It's just called landfill leachate, and I'm not sure exactly in here if they detail exactly what the chemical is that is causing the orange there.
But is it like hazardous? Is it to the point where if you touch it, your finger fall off or anything like that?
It says, quote, not every test showed the same dangerous level of chemicals in the water. So there are apparently dangerous elements in there because there's elevated levels of copper and iron in the water. And there's also elevated selenium levels. And then, I'm sorry, I'm just looking through here exactly what the chemical analysis of it was. So there is elevated levels of copper and iron in the water. I'm not sure what makes it orange, though, Brad.
So what did he ultimately want? Did he want them to clean it up, buy them out? What was his intention?
Well, he does. Yeah, I don't know. I think he wants the landfill to be clean. I think he wants the landfill to be cleaned up. I don't think he wants his property to be purchased. I'm not sure, Brad.
He should talk to those folks in North County because, back in 1945, they discovered that there was nuclear waste all over North County. And in 1946, it was cleaned up. Right, John?
It was cleaned up right away. It didn't take 80 years.
Right. It didn't take 80 years. What's that guy waiting for? I mean, he knows.
So this is a bum deal. Like, jokes aside, Brad. But I just don't see what sucks about the whole situation is no one is going to want to take responsibility of this because it's the old Spider-Man meme of everybody points a finger at the other person and says, county, it's your fault because you didn't disclose how toxic this area was. And then they would probably point at the state, and the state would point at the feds for federal remediation. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, we're ready for number 2?
We sure are, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
We'll move across the county line, and we'll go into Jefferson County for one of your favorite topics, Brad, and one in which you have a specific level of knowledge. Headline from Bryce Gray, one of the best reporters at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Ameren hopes to replace Rush Island coal power with gas plant and batteries. You'll remember, Brad, the long controversial Rush Island plant is now going to be bringing in natural gas to create energy, and also another part of the site will be used to house lithium iron batteries. A 400 megawatt battery storage facility would match the generating power that Rush Island originally had. It would be the first large lithium iron battery facility on the Jefferson County site. So in other words, Brad, they're taking this place that used to be all coal, and now they're going to make it part natural gas and part battery storage.
Now, ask a dumb question, because remember, is this been a change because of the Trump administration? Because you remember the Biden administration, even though what's the tagline from back in the day when they would do, back in the day when it was liquid gas, they would say, clean natural gas. And then
something like that.
And then the Biden administration came along and said, no, you can't have a gas stove, you can't have a gas water heater, you can't have a gas dryer. They're terrible for the environment. Is this
I think this was going on before then. And remember, Ameren had paid a large sum of fees because some of the adjustments they had made to the plant down there were deemed to be either illegal, excuse me, or not up to code. And folks have been after them for a long period of time. So as I understand it, Brad, and we've talked about this once or twice before, they've always had plans to do something with this. And I guess as Ameren explains in this piece, the value of this site is that it's already connected to the grid. So in other words, Ameren wanted to do something with this site instead of just abandoning it. They wanted to somehow create energy because they're so close to the grid. Now, the other thing that we've talked about before here too, Brad, because Ameren pays taxes, this has really affected the closure or the downcycling, I guess you could say, of this plant has affected the local school district, which is the Jefferson R7 school district. They'll see a budget reduction of $1.1 million in the upcoming school year because the plant had been retired. So in the long term, as excuse me, as Ameren gets this kicked back up, the school district could expect to see more money coming back in. And Ameren is saying that they're hoping to complete this project by 2028. So that's still 3 years off.
Hold on a minute. What's the budget reduction?
I believe it's let me see. It's not in front of me anymore, Brad. $1.1 million in the upcoming school year.
They might have to get rid of 2 administrators for that amount of money. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Brad, listen to you. Or if Hookers for Homework comes in.
That's right.
Excuse me. Hooters for Homework comes in. They might be able to fund it. Maybe Escorts for Education.
Escorts for Education and Meth for Math. That would be the other one, right? Okay.
They'd be 2 big ones, Brad.
Right. We ready for number 1?
We sure are.
The number 1.
Brad, it's funny you bring up Hookers for Homework, Hooters for Homework, and Escorts for Education, because a gentleman who was at the center of a lot of these successful statewide campaigns, Jack Cardetti, was a featured guest on our story number 1 today, which is This Week in Missouri Politics. That's right. Scott Fawn hosted Denny Hoskins, Secretary of State, for the one-on-one portion of the conversation. And Denny was just in Washington, D.C. last week, and he was among the Missouri folks who met with Trump administration officials. Denny pointed out that the White House folks started the entire program by talking about election security, which is something that Denny ran on. And an interesting factoid, Brad, the Trump administration has been putting together a brand spanking new analysis of undocumented folks in the United States, non-citizens, and they've already been able to identify, thanks to working with Denny Hoskins' office, a voter in Jackson County who voted, that's of course in Kansas City, the Kansas City area, a gentleman who is an undocumented human who voted in Missouri's November election, who was not even a citizen, Brad. So next time somebody says that non-citizens never vote in elections, you can point to this instance. And let's get to the panel real quick, though, because we mentioned those statewide initiatives. Jack Cardetti was one of the 4 folks on the panel. Jake Crozen moderated the panel yesterday. And we had Mark Ellinger and Stephanie Bell from the crack law team, Ellinger Bell, were on the panel. Jack Cardetti, longtime Democrat consultant, and Chelsea Rodriguez. She is the communications director. She does communications and strategy for the Missouri Democratic Party. They talked about Kehoe budget cuts, Kehoe budget vetoes. Chelsea mentioned the RICA bill as part of the One Big Beautiful bill, the RICA provision, I should say. So they covered a wide gamut of issues there, Brad, and they had a hearty debate about federal budget as well as the Kehoe budget.
So, and is the dust all cleared, the smoke all cleared from the Kehoe vetoes? Are they going to try to get some of that stuff back into other bills as we go into the next session?
Yeah, and I think so. So the legislature comes back in September for a veto session to see if they'll override anything. I don't think they would. I mean, they'll do a lot of other business during the veto session, but I'm not sure. I mean, folks are always going to be upset about if their particular project got cut or their funding got cut. We saw a lot of confusion, I guess you could say, at the end of session because you had a bunch of spending bills that were a source of contention between the Senate and the House. But I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen during veto session, other than the elected officials will go there and collect a per diem and raise a lot of money from lobbyists and donors and have a good time. So I'm not sure exactly what we'll see in veto session.
John, totally changing the subject. You know
Yeah.
me well enough to know I'm not the guy that normally points fingers because, remember, I had this new thing where everything's my fault, right?
Yeah, and when you point a finger at somebody, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. And 1 finger, your thumb, is pointing up at the God Squad.
Right, there you go. Okay, I've never told you this before, but on purpose, we don't do a lot of interviews. We don't have guests in the studio. And we do very few phone interviews. Okay, I want to say, like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, a very nice gentleman. I don't remember his name, and this is going to be sad because I tried to look it up on my phone and I can't find it. Who was the comms guy for our lieutenant governor, Mr. Wasserman, I believe. Is that his name, Mr. Wasserman?
David Wasinger, yeah.
David Wasinger. Okay. And he called me, and he couldn't have been the nicer guy. He was so nice to me, and he essentially was saying, look, a lot of people don't know my boss because he's really not been in politics, and we're not asking for any favors or anything like that, but we would love to have our boss, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, on your show. And I went, oh, we really don't do any of that kind of stuff. And he was, I mean, couldn't have been a nicer guy. And he was talking about the fact that people talk about the governor and they talk about the head of the
Sure,
Senate.
but the lieutenant governor's under the radar. Yeah, what were you getting at there, Brad?
Well, I probably missed out on some business because the lieutenant governor himself is buying radio ads to promote a boat race down Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, we talked about this on the air.
Yes, I know. And I could have maybe gotten some of that money. We could have been advertising the boat races right here in West Plesk Talk. But John says, no interviews, Brad. Okay, John.
I love the fact, Brad, that your inability to remember a man's name, much less close a sale, is somehow back to my fault because I don't like having folks on here for interviews.
No, it's all kidding aside. I thought it was really interesting that because there's a rule, the FCC has a rule that you have to identify the sponsor of an ad. And most times it's obvious. If you have some guy come on and say, hey.
Right. But you heard an ad and then you heard, okay, so what competitive radio station are you jealous of because they got a Wasinger ad?
Hey, I've heard it on 2 stations. I've heard it at 97.
Okay, and when is the race?
I don't know. I can't.
Do I need to do this? Do I need to do I need to send a text and throw some money to you?
Yes, you do.
Okay, I'll take care of it today, Brad. And just let's leave this gentleman's name out. You clearly don't remember, and I know exactly who it is.
I can't.
And if you need me to send the message today, I will.
John, once you cross that 90 threshold, like I've crossed, I mean, what's that guy that rides around the sleigh at Christmas that has the red suit with the white?
Hannakuh Harry.
Hannakuh Harry.
On Moisha, on Herschel, on Shlomo. Right. He's one of my Jewish heroes.
And what's that animal that hops around Easter? What animal is that?
Oh, that's an axolotl.
An axolotl. No.
Yeah, they're really popular with the youth these days.
No, hold it. I think we have our former president who talked about. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
If you can find it quickly.
The oyster bunny. Remember the oyster bunny?
I do.
I can't.
Now, hold on. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead and play that.
I hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I think this is it. Hold on a minute.
Oh, it's all right. I'm sure that we can handle this situation maturely, just like the responsible adults that we are. Isn't that right, Mr. Poopy Pants?
No, I'm sorry. That wasn't it.
That's not it. Your fascination with playing clips that have to do with defecation or unicorn flatulence, which is my least favorite drop that you play, it's way over the top.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. Okay, when people tell me I still have the appetite of a 12-year-old and the mentality of a 6-year-old, I look at them with a smile and I thank them profusely because
it is a compliment,
Brad.
It is a
compliment.
And you have the eyes and the hip of a 170-year-old.
Yes, you're exactly right about that. Actually, hips, both of them. Okay, we have to take a break, and John has to make a text, so hopefully we can get some money for the radio
I'm texting him
station.
right now. Good grief.
Okay.